Well, hey everybody, welcome back. Let's go ahead and get right into it. There's so much to go ahead and cover. At the Wealth 365 Summit, I went ahead and was training you on these concepts, and they continue to happen over and over and over again. Ignoring them is ignoring incredible opportunities and trying to avoid incredible risk whenever you are thinking about maybe taking the opposite side of a trade that is statistically likely to blow up in your face. And so as we go ahead and we take a look here with this, let's back up for a moment. You recall that we spoke a lot about the tools such as firing off with what we call wealth signal, which usually we're looking for near the beginning of a trend, the breakout forecaster, which means after a pullback or consolidation, we're expecting higher highs, right? And you can see that happening there. So we also have the champion trend, that's this light green line coming up under here, and then the champion cross, that's this big, thick, more cloud-like structure. And so all these things were firing off and have been for some time. Even when the market pulled back and then came back out, we still held above this all-important champion trend, right? And so as we've been looking at this, every time people have been talking about me in a private study here, like in my mastermind group and wealth charts events and that, went ahead and have been warning people, hey, look, every time we're pulling back into these areas, pulling back into this area, pulling back into this area, this is a big fat structural support area until broken. And as you can see, here we didn't break through the champion trend. Here we didn't break through it. Here we didn't break through it. So we are still holding that area. This, you got to look at this whole area from this part right here all the way to this right here. It's one big concrete floor, right? So when we come into that, we got to look to expect a bounce off of that. So until that starts to break back down through that area, make that resistance, then that's a whole different conversation, which I'll be looking forward to having at that time. But in the meantime, the strategy I kept teaching you even during the summit was, look, when we pull into the cloud-like structure here called the champion cross, and we come back out, as soon as we start to come back out, that's where these re-entries happen. So it pulls in, and it starts to come back out, that's the reentry. It pulls in and starts to come back out, that's the reentry. It pulls in and starts to come back out, that's the reentry. So here it is over and over again, just like we were sharing at the Wealth 365 Summit there 2 weeks ago. Here we are, we're seeing this over and over and over again. Now, then on top of that, we added in another structure called the IRB tracker, which is my IRB strategy, both the IRB buy and reverse buy and IRB sell and reverse sell. And so what happens is if I put this on here for you, you can see, look at all the additional entry and re-entry areas. So in addition to those key areas where it pulls in here and starts to come back out, it goes ahead and pulls in here, starts to come back out, pulls in here, starts to come back out, pulls in here, starts to come back out. There's all the additional areas here where these bars are the setup bars, and we break 1 tick, 1 cent, 1 pip above the high of those bars. That implies statistical continuation opportunities. So you'll notice that that happened quite a bit all through this process here. So adding those different tools together gives you the initial areas, the 3 or so, 4 entry areas on a pullback back in and then extension out. That's a really powerful strategy, kind of my thrust, pullback, thrust strategy. But then there's those IRB breakout and continuation strategies to add in it for all the times between the more significant pullbacks into the key support. So remember this, it's the same thing I taught you at the show. And as you recall, then for instance, we had this same thing happening here with NVIDIA. NVIDIA is one of those that we talked about quite a bit during the show. And look what happened since that time. So we talked about it here on the Monday, and then the Tuesday we opened up and we started to take back off, and then off to the races we went. Well, there's that wealth signal. There's that breakout forecaster. And so what happens is off it went to the races here. Now we go ahead and apply that same IRB tracker here to this, and you can see all the areas where once we broke 1 tick, 1 cent, 1 pip above the high of those bars, that's where the re-entries, so 1 tick, 1 cent, 1 pip, now that was opening here on the gap the next day. Then that bar was a signal bar as well, so then the open of the next day right there, and so on and so forth. As you can see, these bars, once they break 1 tick, 1 cent, 1 pip above those setup bars, that's where the re-entries come. So over and over and over again. You can put on your favorite option strategy to try to have a defined risk strategy in the midst of the world that we're living in right now, with all the conflicts, the world conflicts, banking crises that are happening again, like with the one New York Bank and everything else. It's a great way to go and put on your favorite option strategy around this. Or, of course, you can apply this on a 0DTE option basis, on an intraday basis, or your favorite futures contract. Same thing here, like this morning. Went ahead and we had the well signal, had the breakout forecaster. So after a pullback, we're expecting a higher high, right? If it pulls back again, it starts to come back out. So there, even there, we can see there is re-entry opportunity here. Right over here as it went in and came back out, and then right over here as it went in and started coming back out. So multiple re-entry opportunities for some very big moves here in this process. For instance, this part right here up to over here, that was well over a 100-point move, $2,000 a contract. $2,000 for one contract there, just to put in perspective the type of movement there, let alone you can see what's been happening with NVIDIA, with the SPY here. Look at these moves, and they were all forecasted by the exact same strategies. And then if you don't know how to find these things for yourself, you don't have to. You can just go ahead and let the scanner do that for you. So it's really important that I reminded you of all of this, because the same thing I told you 2 weeks ago, here we go. Now you can think about what I said. It was all recorded there, all inside of Wealth Charts in the recorded section there from the Wealth 365 Summit. You can see what I said at that time, and then you can see what's happened now. So remember these strategies, whether you're a day trader, whether you're a swing trader here, whether you're doing 0DT options to take advantage of that, or you're going ahead and putting on a multi-week swing trade opportunity that you want to have a defined risk strategy around. So no matter who you are, there's something for everybody with these key strategies, and I wanted everybody to go ahead and take a look at this and see how they can be used now that we talked about those things in advance, and you can see it now. So there's going to be so many wonderful opportunities to go ahead and come in the weeks to come. Again, I'm going to be watching some of these key areas now, these support levels underneath, whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's things like the SPY, or it's something as simple as a day trade in the futures here, right? Keeping up on these key supports. And if we're above those on the daily charts, we're above them on the intraday charts, I'm looking for those long side trades in all the ways I just defined it. All right? So I hope that helps. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next videos. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye for now.